from Fiesta Chef, personal chef and catering service. The eggplant rollatini recipe was such a hit with my tasters, and especially they mentioned the creaminess and the flavor of the cheese filling. So I thought, let me create a recipe where the cheese mixture gets star billing and can really shine. So that's where this 4 cheese pie came in to play. So first thing we need to do, and also this comes together very quickly, so the first thing you want to do is preheat your oven to 350 degrees. And right here we have a pan that I've got heating already. I'm going to give it a quick spritz, and we're going to saute about 4 ounces of pancetta here. So again, this is not in the original recipe, this is something I added, so it could be an optional ingredient. So we're going to just give this a quick saute, just to get some color on it for flavor. And then we're going to combine our cheese mixture and we'll be ready to roll. Be right back. Okay, so our pancetta has a nice color to it. It's been browned nicely. I'm going to try to get it into this container and leave as much of the grease behind. Now we're going to do our cheese mixture. So the ingredients for the cheese mixture are the same ingredients as we did for the rollatini. However, the quantities are different. So we're still using 1 egg. And we'll whisk that up just a bit. And now we're adding 2.5 cups of the ricotta cheese. This is a lovely cheese. This is from Calabro, but it's the hand-dipped one. That's a local company. So. And then we have our fontina. We have about 4 ounces, and we would also have 4 ounces of the mozzarella cheese that we used for the eggplant. Same thing. And 1/4 cup of the freshly grated Pecorino Romano cheese. And again, our nutmeg. I didn't stay away from the nutmeg. We're going to use about a 1/2 teaspoon this time. So I'm going to grate it into here. So you can see. I'm telling you, try this when you do make your next cheese sauce or cream sauce or anything like that. Put nutmeg in it. You're going to see a world of difference. It just makes everything taste so much richer. It's more delicious. Okay, yeah. Yep, it's about a 1/2 teaspoon. Again, I always measure exactly. No. So we're going to mix this up really well. I'm going to also add a couple of grains of black pepper, a couple of grains of this. And, okay, our pancetta is cool enough to mix in here. I didn't want it to cook the cheese filling, so I had to let it sit for a minute to cool. So we're going to put that in. Again, that's 4 ounces. Good. And we're going to do some more basil. So we're going to chop about, I'd say 2 tablespoons. We're just eyeballing it again. And that was actually close to 1.5 tablespoons, if anybody's counting. There you go. So I'm using a pre-made pie crust today, which is something I rarely do, and I know I'm going to hear about it from my cousins when they see this video, but just wasn't feeling making a homemade crust today. Anyway, we're going to put our cheese mixture into the pot. Smooth this out, and then we'll make our tomato topping. The acidity of the tomatoes is the perfect foil for the richness of this cream. It will really help. If I was going to be doing this type of a filling with something other than tomato on top, I'd probably put a little zest of lemon in it just to brighten it up a little bit, but we won't need it because the tomatoes are going to be all we need to brighten it up. All right, so that looks good, and our oven's ready. I just heard it beep, so I'm going to put this aside for just a second. These are Campari tomatoes, which are the only tomatoes I'll buy in the grocery store. The other ones taste, there's no flavor. Unless you go to a market or you happen to have some heirloom tomatoes in your garden, that'd be perfect. Especially the multicolored ones would look really pretty. So we're going to slice these tomatoes about fairly thick, about a 1/4 inch thick. I need to sharpen this knife. And we're going to put them on the top. That should be enough to cover the top. And we take some salt, give a little sprinkle on the top of these. And then we'll put them on top of our pie. All right, so just going to place these, covering the filling. Okay, so we'll put this aside. So here we have about 1.5 tablespoons of olive oil. We're going to grate fresh clove of garlic into it. And then we're going to brush it on top of the tomatoes before we put it in the oven. We're going to put some basil on top as well, but not until the end. So I'm going to take our olive oil that has the garlic grated into it and just give the tomatoes a bake. Now we're ready for, all right, so our pie is done. It's fresh out of the oven. It's been in for 45 minutes. You'll see the middle is still a little jiggly. It's got a little jiggly middle. Actually, if I keep making these things with cheese, and more cheese, I'm gonna have a jiggly middle. Anyway, what we're gonna do is put our basil on now rather than put it on when it's, before it's cooked. I do the same thing with pizza. I'll put the basil on afterward when it's out of the oven. But still, it'll start cooking. You'll start smelling it once it hits that hot pie, because it's still pretty hot. This way, it still retains its fresh, verdant, and herbaceous quality that you want in basil. We're gonna let that sit. Much as I'd like to dig into it right now, it smells fabulous. We'll let that sit for about 15 minutes because scorching hot cheese and tongue, bad. So, be back. Okay, so our pie's been sitting for about a half an hour. Looks good. Smells wonderful too. Let's give it a taste.